video. I think the video is live, so that is good. All right, this is it. This is episode 2.
Episode 2.
We made it. We did it twice. Well, we're starting to do it twice. This is hashtag podcast material. I'm joined with the legend, Tony Champion. I'm Sean Steimel. And special guest today, this red Gatorade bottle and this Kirkland water bottle.
Purified water. Kirkland signature Safeway material.
We are working on sponsorships, but that is free ad time, and we are very happy to do it.
Hit us up.
We're also very happy to be back. Again, we're starting this up. We're working on different segments we want to join. We want to do all kinds of different conversations. We want to bring you guys our thoughts, and we like to have conversations. And now we're gonna work on getting those conversations on a recording.
I also want to thank those of you who gave feedback on our first podcast.
Amen. Gracious.
Definitely thank y'all for that, but also give us some critique as well.
Absolutely.
Things that we should be doing, things you think we can improve on, things of that nature.
Things you want us to talk about?
Yeah, like that too. Definitely topics you would like to hear. Like to hear feedback and your thoughts on different subjects as well. And also thinking outside the box, outside of the sports room too. Anything that you would want to hear down the line, because we're also trying to bump heads and not necessarily bump heads, but combine our brains to see what other things we can talk about in the world, because we're more than just
more than sports guys.
More than sports.
Yeah, absolutely.
Definitely. Basketball does not define me, that's for sure.
Yes.
I'm a big basketball guy.
Now that being said, our first 2 episodes, very basketball heavy.
Very much basketball.
So some stuff happened this past week in basketball.
What kind of stuff?
Our episode 1, we recapped the finals, talked about Steph, talked about LeBron, and the whole legacy discussion. I'm sure we'll have more to talk about on that conversation in the next couple of years. But for now, the NBA draft happened. And that is one of my favorite times of the year, because not only do my favorite college players get to find out what team they're going to, NBA GMs are usually locked in a rabbit hole with their entire staff trying to trade people. And trade season in the NBA, oh boy, there is some fun to be had.
It's hot.
And we had some movement. Definitely had some good moves. The biggest one I would say would be Serge Ibaka going from OKC to Orlando in exchange for Victor Oladipo and Ersan Ilyasova, who I believe they got the contract rights to him. I think he's a restricted free agent, so not sure what he's going to do. And then Arvydas Sabonis' kid, Domantas,
my guy,
from Gonzaga. Anybody who's lived on the West Coast the last couple of years has seen Sabonis play a little bit. That was probably the biggest deal. There were a couple other smaller trades, one of them including a local team, which we will get to in a minute. We'll start at the top. Ben Simmons. There was a bit of a conversation. Do you pick Ben Simmons? Do you pick Brandon Ingram? I'm a diehard Duke fan, and I think it was a no-brainer to take Ben Simmons at 1. I think he was the most talented guy in the draft. Philadelphia is looking for a point guard. Ben Simmons is 6'10", but you could reasonably say that they could run the offense through him.
Point forward, for sure.
Point forward. He's also said that he's capable of guarding 1 to 5, which is something that we've learned the past couple of years is a very valuable asset to have in this league. You want guys who are versatile defensively. So I love that pick. I'm also a Lakers fan. I try and keep that as quiet as possible because I'm much more of an NBA fan and I like players more than anything. But I'm very happy that Brandon Ingram, my Dookie, is on the Lakers. I think he's going to do really big things in the NBA. Just a pure scorer. With his length, he's going to hopefully learn how to play defense. Hopefully they can get some talent around him and build a culture. But I really like the first 2 picks at the top. After that, there was a lot of uncertainty. 3 through 8 could have gone a million different ways with a lot of different guys getting picked. Jaylen Brown, Cal Berkeley kid, went to Boston. That surprised a lot of people, including myself. I didn't see Jaylen Brown going that high. It was a potential pick. I would say he's got a lot of upside. He's still very young. Young athletic wings are very valuable in this league. I would say my favorite pick out of the 3 through 8 range was my boy Buddy Hield going to New Orleans. I think that's fantastic. New Orleans has gotten bit by the injury bug the last couple of years, And I am old enough to remember when Eric Gordon was really, really good at basketball, and there was a conversation that he was one of the best two guards in the NBA. Unfortunately, he's been hurt the last couple years and is now a free agent. So New Orleans basically is substituting Buddy in for Eric Gordon, which I love that move. I think Buddy has a whole lot of potential, and I really like the way that he can potentially gel with a Drew Holiday in the backcourt. And then anytime you get to play with Anthony Davis, I think you're going to get better defensively. I just think that's how good Anthony Davis is at defense. He's going to make you a better defender. So I love the Buddy Hield pick. I think that was my favorite pick, along with the top two. What was your favorite pick out of the lottery? Or do you have a favorite pick?
I do have a favorite pick. Do want to go back to the top two picks. Looking at Ben Simmons a little bit throughout the year. I've said this, I'm not sure if I said this to you, but he's probably the youngest, most poised player I've seen since I watched Carmelo play going into his senior year. I think he played, I think he might have played with Baltimore Select as his AAU team, but I saw him. Any of you that know the correct answer to that, please let me know if I'm wrong. But I'm kind of reaching back a little bit. But just seeing that kid on the court, 6'10", as poised as he is, commanding the floor, commanding the ball, and just being so relaxed out there and dominant and knowing how to make guys around him better.
Absolutely.
That's
solid demeanor, too.
Solid demeanor. That's how I see Ben Simmons. Some people may take that as a setback, maybe because he might be perceived as a little bit too calm, cool, and collective.
Melo's faced that into his entire career. Not a big enough motor.
Yeah, not big enough motor. But however, if he's out there able to make plays and able to make his teammates better, I mean, you can't really knock that.
Yeah. There's also not a lot of pressure on him day one.
Exactly.
I mean, Philly's not expected to make the playoffs next year, so he can. I mean, he's going to have his funks. We all know the kid can't quite shoot at an NBA level. We're hoping he figures that skill out. He's got to put in a lot of work. But, I mean, pressure-wise, the entire city of Philly, I mean, they want to get better at basketball, but they're not expecting this kid to be the savior of the basketball team. They're expecting him to lead the team. He's the franchise center now, but there's not a lot of pressure on him so that he'll be able to make those mistakes and not get killed for the perceived lack of motor or lack of willingness to play. I think that'll be a good situation. What about the Buddy Hield pick? Did you like that one?
Buddy Hield, don't want to go there yet.
Okay.
Want to go with your Lakers pick, Brandon Ingram. I do like Brandon Ingram.
Love me some Brandon.
One of my best friends pointed out to me during the season that he's probably the most NBA ready out of anybody in the draft, simply because his scoring ability, able to create his own shots and shoot out to the three-point line, and his length. I personally kind of see him as Durant 2.0. Any of you who want
an improved Durant or just the next?
Just
Durant?
the next one.
Okay.
Just the next one.
Okay.
To be an improved Durant, that's going to be pretty hard.
I don't know if we'll see it.
That's definitely going to be pretty hard.
I don't know if we'll see someone like that.
Buddy Hield. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I said I like the comp. Buddy Hield. Yeah. I love that pick.
Buddy Hield. I like Buddy Hield. I like his scoring ability. He's kind of Ray Allen-ish, if you will.
Let's hope.
Yeah, athletic, still able to get to the rack and still able to shoot mid-range and long range as well. Just that's my Ray Allen 2.0. Not necessarily saying he's better than Ray Allen.
No.
But again, that is my player comparison.
It's better than Jalen's comparison with Vashawn Leonard. I don't know where he pulled that out of, but anyone who watched the draft telecast was thinking, Jalen, huh? Vashawn Leonard? Really, Jalen? Really? He also compared Brandon Ingram to Paul George, which I kind of like that comp. Paul George has about, 50 pounds on Brandon Ingram right now.
Yeah, a little bit thicker.
But, body-wise, I understand the Ingram-Durant comp. I think Ingram is very pro-ready. Scoring, you're going to be a natural NBA player. I think the most NBA-ready guy, though, and the guy I think can just transition into his NBA role and succeed, is Chris Dunn.
My favorite pick.
I think Chris Dunn, day one, he's going to fix your basketball team, especially in the fit that I can't believe he fell to Tom Thibodeau. I can't believe that happened. How did the NBA let this remarkable defensive point guard get to Minnesota? somebody's got to take him away from Thibs. He's his new weapon. I can't wait to see that.
I already liked watching Minnesota last year with the young talent that they have, the quote-unquote OGs that are out there leading them. KG.
Andre Miller was on that team the entire year.
Andre Miller was there a little bit. Tayshaun Prince.
Still on the team.
Dominguez's finest.
Yep.
So now, and then I loved them even more when they got Tibbs.
Oh, I love it.
A defensive-minded guy. He commands respect out of his players.
Yep.
And getting this defensive, to me, the defense starts with a point guard.
Absolutely.
He's going to set the tone defensively, which is going to create easy buckets in transition with Zach LaVine, Andrew Wiggins. You got Big Cat that can score around the basket, run the floor,
and can run. He can run the floor
and even shoot out to the 3-point line. So,
and then former number 1 pick Andrew Wiggins was not even mentioned there. That's how young and athletic and great that team's going to be.
They're going to be exciting to watch.
Absolutely.
Small market team, but big market talent.
Big potential.
Sure.
Big potential.
In my opinion,
I think Buddy and Chris Dunn, fit wise, the teams that they went to it's just fantastic. I think Chris Dunn, he's a day one NBA ready guy that can come in and help that team.
Most definitely.
We'll get to this later, but the Ricky Rubio situation changes now that they have Chris Dunn and Zach LaVine. Gonna be a little bit of a rotation bundle, but we'll see what happens there. I've seen enough tape on him to know that he's going to be a pretty solid NBA player. The comps to Kristaps Porzingis is a little early, but the Dragon Bender. Going to Phoenix.
That's my curiosity pick in a good way.
I think he's going to be a good NBA player. I've seen enough of his movement because when I watch tapes of guys from Europe, I'm not watching, did they score that bucket? I'm watching their body movement. I'm watching the speed at which they're playing at. I'm watching their feet work. And I know I said feet work instead of footwork.
I say it all the
I'm
time.
a big Shaq fan, so it's feet work. It's not footwork. And then I saw his shooting touch, and that's something that's going to translate day one. Shooting in Europe, it translates. If you shoot well there, you're probably going to be able to shoot well in the NBA. I really like that pick. And then we'll get to our local teams here. Phoenix hedged on the Dragon pick by getting a local kid, somebody we both coached against.
Right.
He went to Pleasant Grove High School, Marquise Chris. And you're probably thinking, well, what happened? I thought he was coming to us. Chris was drafted by the Sacramento Kings, was wearing a Sacramento Kings hat as he went up to shake Adam Silver's hand. And then I forget who was doing the sideline reporting for the telecast, but the person interviewed him and said, "Did you know that you were traded?" He's like, "Yeah, my agent called me before the pick." So he was wearing a Kings hat, but he knew he was going to Phoenix. So Marquise Chris, so the Kings traded 8, which was Chris, for 13 and I believe 28. I think it was 28. Yeah, it was 28. And then the Kings traded Marco Bellinelli to Charlotte for the 20th pick. Now, as we found out yesterday, Marco Bellinelli, I believe, has a broken wrist that he got playing in Europe.
I did not hear that.
So there might be a snag in that trade. I don't know if it was official yet. But there may be more of a story there. And I really like Marco. Really good guy, really good shooter. So we'll see what happens there. But the Kings ended up moving back to number 13, and they drafted, let me see if I get this right, Georgios Papagiannis.
Good job.
I think I got it.
That looks about right.
There's a lot of nicknames being thrown around. My old employer, Scott Moak, has been throwing around a couple. Big Papa, Big Poppy, Big Papa John, Poppy G.
Papa John.
There's a lot of different ways you can go with it. 7'2", 260-pound, big man. The big story of when the pick was made was DeMarcus Cousins tweeting, "Lord, give me the strength," as he's later hedged that tweet by saying it was something to do with a natural hobby.
Right.
We all know what he was saying.
Right.
The Kings general manager, Vlade Divac, going big as he picked Skal Labissiere, which I really like that pick at 28. And then they were looking for a point guard. That was something the Kings were really wanting coming into this draft. A lot of people say this was an 8-person draft. Kings got the 8th pick and ended up with the guy they didn't want was Marquise Chris. I shouldn't say didn't want. They wanted a guard. They didn't get either Chris Dunn or Jamal Murray. Jamal Murray went to Denver. So they ended up taking the big at 13 and then taking the 20th pick, which is involved in that Marco Bellinelli deal. So I'm not totally sure if that's done yet. But they took Malachi Richardson, the Syracuse point guard, who led them to the Final Four and really put his name on the map in terms of NBA first-round draft pick. So we'll see what happens with that trade. But what are your thoughts on what the Kings did trade-wise, pick-wise? Should they have kept Chris? What are your thoughts?
I think Vlade is too much of a big man in the GM role.
Ding, 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 ding.
Which it kind of hurts me simply because I'm a big, but Boogie needs some help around him. Boogie doesn't need a backup.
No. And that's what Papagiannis is.
Yeah.
A backup.
You need somebody that's going to help them win. Now, will you need somebody to put in for Boogie when he gets suspended for having too many technical fouls or flagrants? Possibly. However,
that's close to Kufis already.
Yeah, exactly.
They have the guy.
Vlade needed to realize that he needed more guys, a la a point guard, and maybe an effective veteran. Hopefully, they'll make some noise in free agency.
They've got a lot of work to do.
They do have some work, but they need to figure out how to get somebody that's going to help them on the court, not coming off the bench.
Yep.
And that's going to be crucial. That's if you want to keep Boogie happy, that's what you're going to need to do. However, in my opinion, this is just my personal opinion, you need to trade Boogie and see what you can get for him. Because I personally cannot take the attitude. That's just me. Now, I think, what was he, a 28 and 12 last year?
I think it was 25.
25 and 12 maybe? All right. I think he could have been a 32 and 15 if he didn't have his attitude.
Agreed.
That's just me. But if I'm running that organization, I'm trying to shop Boogie and see what I can get and just blow up the spot and try to get some more pieces just to start all over. That's just me.
Well, knowing what I know,
not gonna happen.
It's not gonna happen. They're not gonna trade DeMarcus.
I get it.
Now,
is it more they're not or they can't?
No, they very much can.
Okay.
We're two very smart basketball minds. I honestly think that me and you could team together and be a passable general manager in the National Basketball Association, and I think it's a no-brainer if you look at the situation in Sacramento and you look at the league landscape. You trade DeMarcus. Every day you wait to not trade DeMarcus, his value goes down.
Now, I will say that it's easy for us to say this in the seats that we're in. Very much different when you're wearing a suit and tie up in that big building there. However,
Vlade very rarely wears a suit and tie.
Doesn't he wear a blazer and a little
more
collared shirt without
more of a sport coat?
Yeah, a little bit more sporty.
I mean, it's hard to fit a 7'1" European man. I mean, he's a very large person. I get it.
Get tailored.
I get it from our perspective.
Right.
It seems easy, and I know it. There's a lot more to it. I mean, he's a franchise guy. They're moving into a new arena. You've got to sell seats, even though they've sold out of, I think, every season ticket spot they had. And I think they did like 2 months ago. Basketball-wise, it makes sense.
Right. And on the flip side, Boogie does have a lot of fans. Boogie does have a
following.
Big following.
And it's not just Sacramento.
So he's going to help put butts in the seats. Just, if you're going to keep him, help him.
Yeah, exactly. Because
Lord help him.
You got to give him the strength.
Lord help the man.
If you're going to keep him, you've got to surround him with shooters.
Right.
I think that's the blueprint to success. I think the Ben McLemore experiment is over, and I think it needs to be. And he really needs to be the poster boy of 6'5" wings in college who can shoot a little bit in college and think they can make the jump to play in the NBA 2 guard. He's got to be the poster boy for staying 2 years. I always think of what Ben McLemore could have been had Bill Self gotten his hands on him for a little bit longer. But we'll never know. But again, if they keep Boogie, they've got to surround him with shooters. And the way they do that is free agency.
Ooh.
It's free agency time.
Free agency.
It
July
starts
1st, right?
midnight, July 1st. And
Late Thursday night.
rumors are that there are going to be people signing in like the first hour. Namely Hassan Whiteside. He has said that he wants to know his future as soon as July 1st starts. I would love to know Hassan Whiteside's future as well, because there's a lot of dominoes that can fall in this free agency period that's going to affect everyone else. I believe the first domino, which he probably won't sign until everyone else is done, is the big piece in this year's free agency, and that's Kevin Durant.
KD.
He has options, 6 of them to be exact as of right now, meetings-wise. Namely, going back to OKC. Golden State is another big suitor. San Antonio has thrown their hat into the ring. I believe it's a cowboy hat. I'm not sure. Or maybe a lasso. Maybe they lassoed in it. I think the Lakers are working on getting a meeting. I don't think they have one as of right now. Washington doesn't have a meeting. Miami and the Celtics are the only 2 Eastern Conference teams. So that's very interesting. A lot of people have said if Durant really wants a chance at getting a ring, he should go East. I find fault in that logic. LeBron James plays in the Eastern Conference. It's not so easy to get there. We were together draft night, and we saw the Serge Ibaka trade go down. And both of our initial reactions were, I think Durant might leave. We saw each other the next day when we both had time to think about it and consider it. And I think we both agree that trade is actually more enticing for Durant to come back. I am a giant Victor Oladipo fan. I think him and Russell Westbrook in the same backcourt is explosive and athletic.
July 4th.
That's my July 4th backcourt. Oladipo plays great defense. He was miscast in Orlando. He was the point guard his rookie year. He's not a point guard. He should not be handling the ball as your lead ball handler. I think he's going to play really well off Westbrook. And Ibaka kind of played himself off of that team. He didn't do enough in this year's playoffs to really dignify OKC hanging on to him, to try and sign him to a contract next year, because him and Westbrook would join free agency next year. So they kind of hedged. They said, look, we're not going to be in franchise limbo and have the 3 of you guys be free agents, assuming Durant comes back this offseason. We're going to trade Ibaka now and get some pieces. They got great pieces back. We both love Oladipo. Sabonis, I think, is going to be a really good pro. Knowing that trade going down, what do you think Durant's reaction to it will be? Do you think it will ultimately be the deciding factor, or will he not be happy with it and say, "Oh, Serge is my guy. Why'd you trade him?" What do you think he looks at that and says?
I think Durant's reaction was this trade actually happening. I don't think the front office did this trade without his consent.
Without consulting, yes.
Knowing the position they were in with him and vice versa.
There's not a lot of guys in the league that you would consult on a trade like that.
Exactly.
Durant's one of them.
Exactly.
He has to be.
Exactly. So, it's, and, I like that trio of Oladipo, Westbrook, and Durant. And the bigs coming in. Now they're deep.
I think it's a big 4. I think Steven Adams is part of the big 4. I think that's how good Steven Adams is.
That's going to be amazing. You have...
But they have a rotation now. Cantor's still there.
Yeah, Cantor's still there.
Kyle
and you have a big man rotation in which you can rotate against the Warriors or against the Spurs. So when it gets down to that point, nobody's going to get tired. And it leaves Durant in a position where he has more energy to make plays.
Absolutely.
And then maybe if he goes cold, you got bigs that's going to rotate in and out, and be fresh to get those rebounds, offensive rebounds, which kill the Warriors, in my opinion. All right. That's why I think, we can get to that later. All right.
That's coming up next.
There's some ideas that my Warriors, I think they should consider, which I'm actually excited about. However, I think the next best thing for Durant would be coming to the Warriors. However, they would need to make a bunch.
Yeah, there's moves they have to be.
They would need to do a lot of shoveling for that move. However, at this point, I don't see Durant leaving at all.
And I think that was both of our sentiments when we talked the day after the draft. Is at this point, I just can't see it. I can't envision him leaving. Westbrook. I mean, Steph and Clay and Draymond, they are fantastic. They just had a great year. But KD and Russ that's a duo right there. I mean, they've grown up together. They've been through battles together, and I think the way that they lost this year, knowing the two of them, I think they're good enough competitors where they look at each other and say, "No, we're not running it like that. We got to run this back and really beat them."
They've done too much to lead
to let it go now.
Situation. Yep.
And I think Russ, honestly, I don't think he would speak to KD if he went to the Warriors. If he looked at it and said, "You joined the group that just beat us, you don't want to beat them," I think Russ would have a real problem with that. Granted, I don't think any of that factors into Durant's decision. He said it's strictly basketball. And I love that he said it because we'll know when he picks what he thinks of Westbrook. If he leaves and goes to the Warriors, we know what he thinks of Westbrook. He's not good enough. He thinks Steph's going to take him there. Steph's going to take him to the ring. Because as great as Durant is, he needs help. I mean, he cannot win an NBA Finals 1-on-5. He needs help. I think he stays.
Yep.
But if he doesn't stay, you think Golden State is the runner-up position?
I think that's the runner-up position simply because of the tools that they have.
They have so many. They have so many weapons. You throw him into that lineup, we'll get to it. Harrison Barnes would have to be siphoned off of the Warriors. I don't think they'd be able to keep both. Livingston might have to be thrown in. I think it's between Livingston and Iguodala. I think that's an easy decision for me. I think you let Livingston walk, keep Iguodala. I think Iguodala is a big part of the culture that they've built. And then I believe they'd have to get rid of either Bogut or Ezeli, and that decision might be made for them because I don't know if we'll ever see Andrew Bogut on an NBA court again. And that makes me sad because I'm a big Andrew Bogut fan. Ezeli also might command a little bit of money in the free agency market. It's rumored that Luke Walton has had discussions with him of coming down to LA and play for him. So all that being said, those moves might be made for the Warriors. They don't even have to worry about making the decisions because it's rumored that Harrison Barnes is going to get courted for a max deal from Philadelphia. And I think if you're the Warriors, if all those other moves go down and it's between Harrison Barnes and Kevin Durant, that's not even a discussion for me.
It's not.
I mean, you say, have fun in Philadelphia, go have fun with the Colangelos. Durant, look what we just built for you. We have a wide open spot in our starting lineup that will feature two of the 10 greatest shooters we've ever seen in this league and Draymond Green. And get a fifth guy. You can plug Iguodala in there. I still think Leandro Barbosa is a solid NBA player. You can play with him. Maybe they go out and get one more veteran piece in free agency. Again, I think Durant's going to stay in OKC. But if I'm him, I've really, really got to consider this Warriors offer because that's a once-in-a-lifetime chance if we could have Durant, Clay, and Steph, which I think are 3 of the top 10 shooters we've ever seen in the league. And I know Durant's a scorer, but shooting-wise, he's great. If we could put those 3 on a lineup and have Draymond be that other guy, I think he's at least got to consider it. He's really got to sit down and think about it.
I hate to throw this out there simply because it's my Warriors. And I am a big, but I think the deciding factor is going to be the big man situation that for Kevin Durant and what the Warriors are able to do.
Do you think he has any interest in playing the 5? Because honestly, in that lineup of death, he could be the new 5.
I don't see a reason for him to play the 5.
Okay.
I really don't.
So then that really is a big factor in his decision.
In order to get him, because from my understanding is the Warriors are so close to the salary cap.
Very.
They would have to move. They would have to let go of Harrison Barnes and Festus or trade away Bogut for something just to free up some space for Durant.
Doing that, so they would have enough space for Durant.
Right. They would have space for him, but now let's look at the big man situation.
True.
What big man situation is going to be better?
The Thunder. You got Mo Spates, maybe. They already let Ognjen Kuzmic go.
Now, in my opinion, they need to let go of Mo Spates as well.
And they might.
And that's another big that's not there.
But to your point, if Durant's looking at this for big man situation, OKC is clearly superior.
Right.
Even just Steven Adams, not even factoring in Enes Kanter. They still have Mitch McGary. Right. Who people forget about. Anyone who watches Summer League basketball knows Mitch McGary can play. If it's strictly basketball, I think he might look at the big man situation and say, look, I can't do it.
And I've liked Bogut for a long time too, but you got to look at the health factor.
He can't stay healthy.
Age. And then you look at Festus as well. From my understanding, I have some sources that tell me that
he's a local guy.
That guy's really hurt. Like he's really hurting.
I would imagine.
So that's gonna hurt his money.
Yeah.
Combined with Harrison Barnes not playing to what he may think is worth, they might just let those guys go anyway and try to get a Joakim Noah, and a Nicholas Batum. Those guys have been in
that's
talks
that's
free
plan
agent
B.
Yeah,
that's plan B if they don't get Durant.
Of course. Durant is playing 1A and 1B.
The first 5 plans is
Right.
Durant. Now, that's a really good plan B for me.
Mm-hmm.
I think Noah still has something to offer, and I'm a big Portland guy. I loved watching them. Nick Batum can really play.
Mm-hmm.
All right, quick hitters. There's a couple of other big free agents. We got a little bit of time left. Quick hitters. I'm going to say a name. You tell me the team that you think they should play for, or the team you think they're just going to go to.
Mm-hmm.
Mike Conley has some suitors, unrestricted. Where does he go? Or where do you think he should go?
Miami.
Is that where you think he should go, or where you think he's going?
I think he should go there.
Okay.
Why not him and D Wade in the backcourt?
What about Dragic? Dragic is on a long-term contract. He's a movable piece. I think someone would be able to pick him up.
Mm-hmm.
But I love the Conley D Wade discussion. I like that.
I like that combination right there. I think I would prefer Conley over Dragic. I mean, I like the kid.
I'm a Goran guy.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah.
I get that.
He was Nash's backup.
And
so
I think, and I just kind of going on a tangent,
Yeah.
D-Wade opted out. So he's going to see what Miami.
Oh, he's looking at the whole landscape.
Right. He's looking
not
at
just
everything.
Miami. Yeah, not
he
just
might
Miami.
be looking at FC Barcelona for all I know.
Hey, I would too.
But I like that situation.
Okay.
I like that situation down there. And again, going back to the bigs, I think Pat Riley should do any and everything in his power to re-sign Hassan Whiteside.
I do too. So do you think Conley goes to Miami, or where do you think he ends up?
That's where I would like to see him.
Okay. I think he ends up back in Memphis. I think his relationship with Marc Gasol is something that's unbreakable. And I think they have a bond that they'll play together. Dark horse, San Antonio. I think he could be lured by San Antonio. Tony Parker, clearly not himself anymore. And Patty Mills was just awful in the playoffs. So I think Mike Conley might be a play. But the Spurs pick of DeJounte Murray, the Washington point guard, changes things a little bit. So we'll see about Mike Conley. Al Horford. I think he stays in Atlanta.
Yeah.
But there are some other suitors out there.
The Warriors.
Warriors being one of them. What do you think Horford should do?
I think he's a stay.
Stay.
I like that situation
I do
down
too.
there. I mean, that depth and what they did last year.
Yeah.
I think that there's no reason for him to leave. I think they got more to prove down there with that group.
Phil Jackson will offer him about 50 million reasons to leave, though, because the Knicks are desperate for a big man. So I can see that. Last, certainly not least, I'm still a fan of this guy. He can still clearly play basketball. What does Dwight Howard do? Where does he go? It doesn't sound like Houston's an option anymore. What does Dwight Howard do? Maybe a Laker come back?
Absolutely not.
Maybe a Phil Jackson move to New York?
I think New York would be a good situation for him. At some point, though, he's got to realize that he shouldn't be getting the ball as much as he may want. I see him as an older DeAndre Jordan type. But let's run the floor, get some rebounds, just get about 6 to 7 offensive rebounds.
Do the dirty work.
Yeah, do some dirty work.
Yes.
All right. I am not a fan of it. I'm not a fan of his back to the basket footwork.
No.
All right.
I never have been.
And if he goes to, I think he'll get some money in New York. And if he goes to that team thinking he's probably going to be option 2 or 3, or
that's a problem.
Right, that's a problem. Maybe option 3. Maybe.
No.
But
Porzingis.
I think, Porzingis. Love Porzingis.
He's options 1, 2, 3.
Right.
Just kidding.
But in that situation, I like that situation because
like
of the way Porzingis can run. Dwight Howard definitely has the ability to run and finish. I like that was that Fordham.
I love that move.
Fordham, is that a word?
Yeah, and if they could, we're making a word.
Yeah, make it a word.
I would like it a lot too if they brought Aflalo back to run with that team.
Ooh,
because they're missing the two. Aflalo opted out, so if they could get Aflalo, I think the dark horse in the Dwight discussion, Dallas. Dallas flirted with Dwight a couple years ago. They, had an agreement with DeAndre Jordan. They're clearly in the market for a big man. Whiteside has been rumored with Dallas. I think if Dallas could get either one of those guys, Dirk would kiss Mark Cuban's feet because I think Dirk really needs a 5 to play with.
Right.
I think Dwight might not be the worst option there, or a Hassan Whiteside, but I agree with you. Whiteside should stay in Miami. Free agency is going to be jam-packed. There's going to be action. A lot of big names moving. We didn't even talk about the Derrick Rose trade. There's going to be guys moving, and there's going to be a lot of fun. So clearly, we're going to have things to say about it. I have a long list on my phone in the notes section that's just titled #podcast material, which is a big reason why we wanted to name this podcast material, because we've had so many conversations and so many topics pop up that we want to talk about, that we want to get to, that we haven't gotten to yet. So don't be worried. We'll be back at some point.
We'll be back.
Hopefully recently. Or
we'll
hopefully
be back,
soon.
man.
We've got some stuff to talk about. We hope you guys like this episode. Again, what we said at the top, give us feedback. We love it. We love hearing back. But give us some critique. Give us topics to talk about. It's not just the list on my phone. Give us some stuff to talk about. And thank you very much for watching. Thank you for listening.
Appreciate it.
And we'll see you next time on #podcast material with Tony Champion.
Go get your Gatorade.
And Sean Steimel.
Is it in you?
We'll see you next time.